Happy Friday, everybody, and most importantly, happy Set 4 release day.
Hell yeah.
We hope you got all the goods. We hope you have a lot of fun plans set for this weekend. And to kick it off, we are going to be bringing back our individual ink review of the set. So we will be going color by color, except this time we're probably going to just throw out the vanilla cards, focus on the ones with actual abilities, but we feel like it is maybe more in depth than what you would like. We like the depth that we go for these. So, or at least I do. I don't know.
Yeah, I do too. It makes for a little bit longer of an episode, but I like talking about pretty much all the non-vanilla cards in detail. The reason why we're not talking about vanilla cards is...
They're boring. No, I'm just kidding.
No, we don't need to go over the goon of the sets, right?
Yeah,
We
every
just
time they
don't
come
need
out
to
with a
do
new
that.
goon or a new Olaf or whatever, we don't need to do those. So, but don't fret. We're not going to be spending the next 6 weeks worth of episodes going over each of the colors. We're going to be pumping these out pretty quickly, putting a couple out each week. That way you get our analysis as quickly as possible and we can keep going on with the good stuff. So this will be the first of 6. Expect 2, maybe 3 if you're lucky next week. And then finishing up the rest of the week after. But next week we have Atlanta. So we got a lot to do.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy week next week preparing for that, but it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited, but we hope you guys are ready. Before we jump in though, if you are tuning in for the first time and this is your first set review that you've done with us so far, Dalton is going to go over basically our grading scale for what we use and what we mean when we give these cards a certain grade.
All right, so the first grade that we have is the card an S tier card.
Yep.
So these cards are just the absolute best cards of the set. You'll probably play this in any iteration of that Ink Colors deck list. For example, Ursula, Deceiver of All. That is one of the most impactful cards from set 3, and you see it in pretty much every single competitive Emerald deck because it is just that strong. Mm-hmm. Then we have A's. These are cards that are really powerful, maybe not the best cards in the set, power level, but they're still really good. A card like that would be like Ursula Deceiver, a card that you could probably fit into most decks, but doesn't have the same ceiling as, the S's, for instance. Ursula Deceiver is really good, but it can't do the messed up things that Ursula Deceiver of All does. Another card that goes in these categories is some of the really powerful build-arounds. I like to think of the Queen's Castle as one of these because you just can't throw it in any deck. But if your deck can have a more aggressive slant to it, it is a really powerful threat.
Right.
So then we have the B's. These are cards that are just generically playable. They're often like the Olafs of the set.
Your solid role players.
Yeah, your solid role players. Maybe like a Benja from set 2. But they're solid role players because they're reasonably decent statted. They quest for 2. They have some ability that's kind of niche. Or maybe it's an expensive inkable card that is really strong, but it being expensive and inkable makes it hard to where you can play a bunch of them. For example, the Scar from the second set. It's really powerful, but usually only see like maybe 2, but maybe 3 at tops in the Ruby Sapphire decks, whereas if it was inkable, it'd be played in every Ruby deck because it'd just be insane. Mm-hmm. Then we have C's. These are more niche role players. They're just cards that you don't see that often because, well, they don't have like a super high power level or great stats. So like Wildcat from the previous set, it's like a 2/3 with evasive that quests for 1, and you can exert it to banish an item. It's kind of slow in banishing an item, but it's repeatable, so you can play it in some decks, but it's just not the most efficient card. And then we have D's. These are the cards that you will basically never play. So Healing Glow,
It's been
poster child.
since set 1.
Yeah, just unplayable, not good in limited even because it is just such a bad card.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, with that being said, let's get right into the first card here. Dana, why don't you take us through it?
All right, so our first non-vanilla card of Amber, we have Alma Madrigal, and she is a 1/3, an uninkable 3-drop, quests for 2, and has to the table, when you play this character, you may search your deck for a Madrigal character and reveal that card to all players, shuffle your deck, and put that card on top of it. Do you want me to start?
Yep.
All right. I gave it a C. I don't know. It's our first like semi-tutor type card, but because it only works with the Madrigal family, I don't think there's enough good ones yet for that archetype to be like a viable tribal deck. I feel like if that type of deck does become prominent in the future, this could be a solid card for it, because obviously you're trying to search for more of them, but because they're not good yet, she's not good yet. I don't know.
That is kind of how I view it as well. I gave this one a B just because I think at some point she could be really good. Mm-hmm. This card is really only as good as the best Madrigal cards will be. If there just aren't very many good ones, and right now I don't really know that there's any good ones, she just won't see play because her ability doesn't do anything, and the fact that she is uninkable and doesn't have good stats means that you just can't put her in any generic deck. You know, I'm talking myself down to a C, actually.
I thought I was being too harsh, so that made me feel better.
No. As if this put that card into your hand, this card would be insane. As it is, you need something extremely good to find with it, but we don't have that currently, so it's just not that great of a card. All right, so next one we have Ariel, Singing Mermaid, a 4-cost inkable character, 3/3, quest for 2 with Singer 7. Singer 7 is quite a bit, Dana. What do you think?
So I'm not going to lie, the next 2 cards we're about to go over are singers, and I feel like based on the rate that I see them going right now, cost-wise, my grade should be opposite of what I have them, but we're just going to go with it, and I'll explain why. So for Ariel, I gave her a B because she can sing higher than the Cinderella Gentle and Kind that we see at this ink ability and drop point. So I think she has a chance of getting played, especially when you're on the play, because she would be able to still sing the next turn before she gets Medusa'd. Obviously, if you're on the draw, there's a potential to get Medusa'd, but she has a chance if you're on the play. So I gave her a B.
Yeah, I'm going to give her a B as well. Singer 7 is a lot, and especially with the Sing Together cards, some that we will get into this episode, just being able to sing some of those cards extremely quickly is really powerful. And I think as more sets come out, the singers are probably just going to get better and better. So this one doesn't have the best stats, but it is inkable, and it can almost sing some of those cards by itself. So I like this one for a B.
Yeah. All right, next we have Cinderella Melody Weaver, a 5-cost inkable, 1/5, quest for 2, is a singer 9, and then has beautiful voice. Whenever this character sings a song, your other princess characters get +1 lore this turn. I gave her a C, and that's why I feel like I might be, I don't know, but this is why. This one will get, I feel like almost like the baseline for people evaluating cards right now is whether it gets Medusa'd or not. That's like the new Maui that you used to do, but this time, like, Medusa is just, just immediate and good. But this one will get Medusa'd before it even has a chance to sing, whether you're on the play or the draw. It just doesn't matter. So I don't know. Plus, there aren't that many powerful songs yet that you would need this cost to sing, especially now that we have the sing together ability, like you mentioned, where you could kind of double up some characters. So I don't think you necessarily need this card if it was just like a normal song that is higher in cost, if that makes sense. Like the ones that are expensive right now, you can just do a couple of characters together. Like, why not do your Singer 7 Ariel the turn before and then with another one? Like, you don't really need this one. You know what I mean?
Yep. So I'm right there with you, actually. I'm going to give this one a C as well. I think it is worse than Ariel singing Mermaid for some of the reasons that you mentioned. Like, just having that one extra ink cost just means it's so much slower, and so many of your 5-cost characters have to be really impactful either the turn you play them or as soon as you unexert with them, they need to be able to do something by themselves. I mean, a really powerful card like Beast Tragic Hero was not seen as much play for a little while because it just got Medusa, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not a very thoughtful or exciting way to review cards. Just saying, oh, it dies Medusa. I get that, but that is kind of the reality that we live in.
Yeah, it sucks that it is, but
like when Ruby Sapphire is just such a powerful and popular deck, that is something that you have to consider. And this one will die to Medusa, it will die to Maui, and it does have Singer 9, so you can sing a lot of those Sing Together songs just with this card itself. The issue with that is that I'm not really even sure how many of those cards you would put into your deck anyway, just right, because they're so expensive, and so many times that just means you're overplaying into grab your swords or be prepared, and that, I don't know, it's just hard to gather all these characters on board and expect them to live, especially when you're trying to get to 20 lore, because you want to be questing with your characters too.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know. I think this one just costing 5 and Ariel costing 4 means that Ariel's probably just better. And I mean, you probably need a lot more than like 2 princesses in play in order for her beautiful voice ability to really be relevant as well. So yeah, I don't like her that much.
All right, that makes me feel better. I thought you were going to come at me for that.
Especially
Seeing the price. Like, I know that I mentioned this, but as we're recording this episode, the Ariel Singing Mermaid we just talked about is $451, and then this Cinderella is $34. And I'm like, is it better than what I think it is? Because I'm about to grade it a C.
Yeah, it's a legendary that has yet to be opened, so it's just not gonna. It's gonna command a higher price tag, right?
Just for that, yeah, I get it. I'm not gonna lie, I wanted you to do this next card because I was worried about pronouncing its little sub name.
All right, this is Cogsworth Majordomo.
I don't know why that was making me so nervous.
Who knows? It's okay. It's a 3/3 inkable 4-cost character. Quest for 1. It has the ability As You Were. When this character quests, you may give chosen character -2 strength until the start of your next turn. I think as far as constructed goes, this is a D. You'll just never put it into your competitive deck.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I gave it a D. I just feel like the ability is too minimal and slow for it to be worth playing. So, moving on. All right, our next one, Daisy Duck Musketeer Spy, an inkable 4-drop, 2/3, quests for 1, and has infiltration. When you play this character, each opponent chooses and discards a card. You go first.
I think I like this one as a B. It is kind of similar to Friar Tuck in the sense that it's a 4-cost character that always makes someone discard a card. Friar Tuck, sometimes you have to discard a card as well, but this always makes them discard a card. And then it's also similar to the Daisy Duck that's also an Emerald in the sense that's, statted the exact same. 2/3, inkable 4-cost character. That one's repeatable, but it doesn't happen when it comes into play. And I think just the one-time use of it coming into play and always making them discard is pretty good. It's just such a good follow-up to Prince John without having to do some of the Floodborne stuff. I'm gonna give it. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna give it a B. It only quests for one, so it doesn't put on a lot of pressure. But just always making them discard a card seems pretty good.
Yeah. I also gave it a B as well. Aside from the bare necessities, it's the first time we're really seeing a discard mechanic within Amber.
Well, you have Dad Blast.
Well, like, let me get there. And a character
Oh,
doing it. Yeah, that's right. You have forgotten me. But I feel like it's not limited like the bare necessities are, where it's a song, or where some are like you have to discard a character or a non-character or something of that sort. Like it's just a card. So I like that as well.
All right, let's move on to the next one. We have Donald Duck Musketeer Soldier. It is an inkable 3-cost character, 2/3 that quests for 1 as Bodyguard, and has Wait for Me. When you play this character, a chosen character gets +1 lower this turn. All right, Dana, what do you think of little Donnie here?
I gave it a B. I actually like this one due to the second ability. I don't think if it was just a bodyguard that I would have given it a B, but I think in combination with a good 1 or 2 drop, possibly one with 2 lore already, it could be a good follow-up to protect it on turn 3 and make the previous one quest for maybe 3. So I don't know, I kind of like it. And it's inkable.
Yeah, I'm going to give this one a C. I think maybe the C's some play, but I think the fact that it just has like Simba bodyguard stats and it costs 1 more means that it's just not a good enough character. You have the Prince in Steel, which has resist 1 and already quest for 2. So I think that body is just a little bit more durable if you want a bodyguard character. And you make up that lore by the fact that it quests for 2. I just don't think it's going to be powerful enough to sit and play.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, next we have Gaston, Despicable Dealer. It is an uninkable 3-drop, a 2/4 quest for 1, and has Dubious Recruitment. You exert it and then pay 2 less ink for the next character you play this turn. I was on the fence between a C plus and a B minus. I think obviously it's a little bit more powerful than the Pluto that does a similar thing, which we did see get play. But I'm also hesitant because it's going to be like on turn 4 by the time that you do it. So it seems too slow to me.
Yeah, we have Doc from, was that set 3?
2?
Or was that set 2? Set 2? Yeah, we have Doc from set 2. That's a 2/3 inkable character, the quest for 2. And it adds in ink whenever he quests. This is a little bit better statted. It's not inkable, it doesn't quest for as much, and it's when you exert it and not when you quest. So it's a little bit different. But I think the fact that this adds an extra ink means that you can pretty consistently just play a 6-cost card on turn 4 when you're not playing Sapphire. So you can be Amber Ruby and just start dropping down Medusas pretty early on your opponents, or Tremaines, whatever it is, whatever really powerful 6-drops that you have in your deck. Mm-hmm. And I think that is really good. I think it's probably worse than Doc, but I still think it'll see play. I'm going to give it like a B+.
That's fair.
All right, next one we have Golden Harp, Enchanter of the Land. It is a 1-cost thinkable 1/4 quest for 2 and has Stolen Away. At the end of your turn, if you didn't play a song, banish this character. So I give this one a C. It's a 1-cost character that you can't play in like the first 2 or 3 turns of the game because you want to be developing your board for the most part and not singing songs. Mm-hmm. So you just can't really spend your first couple turns doing that. Like it's pretty efficient. Like if you do get to play it on turn 5 or something, after you play a whole new world, and then you can play this with like your leftover ink or something like that, I could see it being kind of efficient just because it's like a 1-cost character that quests for 2. But I think it's just more important to play your 1-cost characters on turn 1. So yeah, I just give this one a C.
I was a little bit harsher. I gave it a D because, I mean, obviously, like you said too, you wouldn't be playing this on turn 1. And I feel like even if you were to play it later when you sing a song, I don't think it would be worth when you want to play it or when you have enough ink, obviously have a song, or when you play a song, you would have to hope that you have enough ink. Like, it's just the timing of it. And then unless you have 2 songs that you'd be able to play 2 turns in a row, it's basically going to come out for a turn, not get banished because maybe you have a song that turn and then you quest for it. And if you don't have another one, then it just goes away. Like, it just seems too, I don't know, too wasteful.
Yeah, it's not very consistent. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. You can't play it early, and it's not really consistent late. It is inkable, so you can just ink it early, but yeah, just not being able to play in the first, 3 turns is not what I want to be doing with my 1-cost characters.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next we have Goofy Musketeer Swordsman, an uninkable 4-drop, 3/4 quests for 2, and has on Garsh. I don't know why I never realized that that's what that was called until now. Whenever you play a character with Bodyguard, ready this character and he can't quest for the rest of the turn. I want to hear what you have to say before I read off mine.
I'm just going to give him a D.
Okay, good, me too.
They really like to limit these cards. The thing is, if he could quest when he unexerts, he probably wouldn't even be, he'd be a lot better, but he wouldn't be that much better. You still probably couldn't play him because he's an uninkable 4-cost character. And, you can only play 1 bodyguard a turn a lot of the time, so you're not really comboing off with him.
Yeah.
Playing 3 bodyguards in a turn and getting 8 lore. Because you can't even quest with him when he unexerts, his stats really aren't that great, so you can't challenge down a lot of things.
It wouldn't be like the Scar where you can just challenge, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's uninkable. There's just not a lot to like about this card.
Yeah, I agree. Everything you said, my notes don't really add much more, so we can just move on.
All right, next we have Julieta Madrigal. 3-cost inkable character, 1/4, quest for 1, with signature recipe. When you play this character, you may remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. If you remove damage this way, you may draw a card.
I will start. I gave her a C. She's a smaller version of the Rapunzel gifted with healing, so I don't think we'll be seeing both her and Rapunzel, because Rapunzel's, I think, still too good to take out.
Nah, I think this one's gonna see play.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do.
So what would you give it? A B?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a B. It's not an insanely good card, but Ruby now has 3 characters that come into play and damage themselves with the set. You have the 1-cost Mulan, you have the 2-cost Mother Gothel, and there's a 3-cost, I forget what it is. But playing the 1-cost Mulan and then playing any 2-drop and playing this on turn 3 is just really good. You recoup the card back from playing this. You have a pretty well statted 1-cost character because you have a 2/3 now. I think this one's definitely going to see some play in those shells to kind of go along with Rapunzel. It's obviously not as good as Rapunzel, but it can kind of fit the curve nicely. And it does work well with Rapunzel in the sense that it has 4 willpower, so it's not going to get challenged down by early characters easily. So you can have a nice 1, 2, 3 curve in there, and I think if you can curve that out, you'll have a pretty easy time gaining control of the board.
I stand corrected. Hey, I will say, though, we are 10 cards into this set, and this is the first time that we've really, truly disagreed. So I think that's pretty good compared to how we were doing set 1. You and I were opposite.
Way
I had
opposite.
no idea how to judge cards, so I'll give us this. Okay, so next we have Max, Loyal Sheepdog, an inkable 3-drop, 4/3 quest for 1, and has Hero Boy. If you have a character named Prince Eric in play, you pay 1 less to play this character. I'm giving it a D. I think although we are getting 2 Erics and Amber, we only have, I think now 4 total. I'm trying to think, we have the Ruby and the Steel, and that's it, right? So I don't think we'll see enough Erics in our deck for this to hit as frequently as it needs to in order to be good. So
Yep, it's a D. It doesn't do anything special by itself, and just being a 2 cost 4/3 means it's just gonna trade with Smee, except for they get 2 lore out of it because you have to trade with it because you're only gaining 1 lore. So, yeah, this one's not gonna see any play. All right, next we have Mickey Mouse, leader of the band, 4 cost inkable character, 2/5 quest for 1 with support, and then as when you play this character, chosen character gains support this turn. This one is probably just another C. It might even just be a D. Yeah, I just don't see it constructed playable wise. It doesn't do enough at any point. I don't think I could see the one scenario I do like about this is I think that when you play it as a 4 cost character and you're on the draw, it can help you take care of some Queen's castles. But besides that, it just doesn't have good enough stats, and its effect, just support hasn't been very good at pretty much any point yet in Lorcana. Like, we thought Max was going to be a really good card, and it just was fine. So, yeah, it's just a D probably.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I gave it a D too, and it's funny because I said the same thing, that I just feel like we don't see characters that have support get played very much. Yeah, it's just not a powerful enough ability on its own to be worth taking up a spot in your deck for, I feel like. So
Yeah, challenging characters in that way, just, you want to be able to challenge your opponent's characters efficiently, but, like, I don't know. For some reason, support just doesn't play out that way. I think it's just because we have really strong rush characters like Maui that just kind of smash all the would-be good support characters. Maybe that's just a Maui thing and not a support character thing.
yeah. All right, next we have Mickey Mouse Musketeer Captain, an uninkable 7-drop, 3/6, quest for 2. It can shift for 5, though, has bodyguard and support, and then has Musketeers United. When you play this character, if you used shift to play him, you may draw a card for each character with bodyguard you have. I feel like, well, I will say, I love the art on this card, but I know that has nothing to do with how good it is. But I gave it a C. I could be downplaying it. I don't know. But I feel like of the Musketeer characters, it does have obviously a lot going for it. But I don't think that tribal type of a deck is good enough right now. I think if we see more like Musketeer decks becoming prevalent, obviously this one's going to be probably one of the main build-arounds, but it's just not a thing right now. So I don't know. And I know that this set we are getting a lot of Musketeer. I know we are, but I still don't think it's enough to be competitive.
Yeah, the best thing that this has going for it is that it is a captain, so your Smee doesn't take 1 damage. This
and it's a Floodborn, so you can have the
you have some Floodborn surge.
Basically, the two things that are not what it's supposed to really mainly be.
Yeah, this just seems like a worse Max than to me.
Max is inkable.
Max is inkable. It's a 4/5, so it doesn't get Medusa, and it doesn't quest for 2, but you also don't need to play a bad Mickey in order to shift onto this. There just aren't really any good Mickeys from what I've seen, so I don't really like it. Now, Musketeers Tabard is kind of a powerful card, so if we get enough like reasonable bodyguard characters, I think this could maybe see some play, but we need some overstated bodyguard characters before, and we need probably a good standalone Mickey before we see some play as well. All right, next we have Minnie Mouse, Musketeer Champion. So, Minnie Mouse is an uninkable 5-cost character. It's a 1/5 with bodyguard, quest for 2, and has dramatic entrance. When you play this character, banish chosen opposing character with 5 strength or more. What do you think of Minnie here?
I just realized this is the one I accidentally skipped, so I haven't had a chance to digest this yet. I'm just gonna go on the fly. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm gonna talk this through how I normally analyze cards. All right, so it's a uninkable 5-drop, and it's a 1/5 and quests for 2, which is pretty much like Rapunzel gifted with healing.
As far as
Stats
yes.
go, right? Bodyguard, we've already discussed how that ability in itself isn't as good enough to just stand alone yet. So immediately I'm thinking C or D. But I do like the dramatic entrance, which makes me want to say B minus, but probably still a C.
Yeah, I think the issue with this card is that there's not really anything on curve that it banishes when you play it.
Mm-hmm. Hell, if this was a 6 or more and it got rid of Maui, then yeah.
I mean, it still gets rid of Maui. Yes.
Oh, or more.
Yeah, or more. Oh. Not just only.
Sorry, I read that wrong. See, this is why I needed time to digest.
So, I mean, the thing about this coming down and even banishing a Maui is that Maui already banished one of your characters probably, so that's not super efficient. I could see this game played as a 1 or 2 of, just because I can banish Tamatoas and Maleficents in the Ruby Sapphire decks or Scars, but I don't think you can play like 4 of these. So I think it's just a B, but
I also think it's a B.
Huh?
You think it's a B?
I think it's a B. I think the effect is pretty powerful, but I think you can only play 1 or 2 of these in your deck for the time being. There just aren't any other good characters that cost 5 or less that you banish with this, so it's hard to hit something on curve against most decks.
I feel like, and I know that would be too good, but they obviously made the Mickey that we just talked about a shift. I wish if they would have made her a shift, knowing that we have like Always Classy or the Ballroom Princess or whatever, the princess one too that's in Amber. Obviously that would make her higher in my head and probably in everybody's head, but she just doesn't have that, so.
Yeah, she's probably like a C plus actually. I don't even know if having shift would make her that much better, just because if you shift her on like turn 3 or 4, you're still not banishing anything of relevance. So,
well, I mean, I guess I was thinking more like, like you could still. Yeah, you're right.
This is a good combo with the Queen though. The Amber Queen, you pump their character up, then you can banish whatever. There are a couple cards that are kind of good combos with the Queen, but like those don't really see that much play either. And so yeah, this is probably just like a C plus.
All right. Next we have the first of 2 Mirabelles. We have Mirabelle Madrigal, Gift of the Family, uninkable 5-drop, 3/5 quest for 2, has support, and then also Saving the Miracle. Whenever this character quests, your other Madrigal characters get +1 lore this turn. Once again, we're having an uninkable 5-cost character competing in that slot. I gave her a C only because she has the potential for the synergy again in those Madrigal decks. Obviously not in a competitive sense, but if someone was trying to get that tribal going, then yeah, but C. I don't know.
I'm just gonna give her a D. There would have to be like some really good Madrigal characters in order for this to see play, and that would be more of a testament to those characters, I think, than her. She doesn't have great stats. She's uninkable. She does quest for 2 and has support. Like, those things are nice, but I mean, she's just gonna quest once and then die to Maui or Medusa. She might not even. It's just so hard to play 5-cost characters when you have cards like We Don't Talk About Bruno that can get sung for free on like turn 3 from Ariel, and those are just such tempo positive plays that this just does not have near enough impact when it comes into play, and you have to have a pretty wide board for it to be worth it. This is just not a very good card.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, we have our second Mirabelle Madrigal, the Prophecy Finder, inkable 2-cost character, 2/2 with support, quest for 1. Probably just another D.
D for me.
I don't mind that all the Encanto characters get.
Don't hate. Okay, Dalton doesn't like Encanto, but
I don't mind that all these characters just aren't that great, to be honest.
I did like the movie, okay?
I know you did.
Whatever. All right. Next we have Pluto Rescue Dog, Inkable 5-drop, 4/5 quests for 2, and has To the Rescue. Whenever you play this character, you may remove up to 3 damage from one of your characters. Oh, I might be highballing it, but I gave it a B. I think it's decent. It's not obviously going to replace Rapunzel Gifted with Healing because she draws cards, but I think because he does pack a bigger punch, it depends on whether you're looking for the draw or the strength, honestly.
I'm going to give this one a D. Probably like a super sick card in draft, but I don't know when you're ever like just putting this in your competitive deck and playing it, because you have just so many other 5-cost characters. You have Beast Tragic Hero or Robin Hood or the Queen in this color. I mean, I would probably rather play the Cinderella from earlier because it can sing some of the Sing Together songs by itself. I just don't know when I would ever play this card.
Fair enough.
All right, next we have Prince Eric. Seafaring Prince. 3-cost inkable character, 3/3 quest for 1. Bodyguard, not a lot to say. You probably have to have a bodyguard heavy deck to want this character with Musketeer Stabard. Otherwise, I'm not playing this card.
I gave it a C, but I was saying that you would only see it get played as the shift target of the next card that we're looking at, which is pretty conditional for how I feel about it. So we can just move on to that one. Prince Eric, Ursula's Groom, Inkable 6-drop, 5/5 quests for 2, shifts for 4, and then has under Vanessa's spell. When you have a character named Ursula in play, this character gains bodyguard and gets +2 willpower. I gave this one a C as well, but I think it could get play, maybe, in any sort of lemon lime deck or amber amethyst deck, because obviously there are more Ursulas in those 2 colors. We only get a couple Ursulas in amber right now, so I think if you were to see any of those combinations, this one could be thrown in there, but I don't think it's good enough to maybe even get play in those, so maybe I even highballed it with a C.
So, yeah, I think this one's probably a C as well. The thing is that like a 5/7 is almost unkillable. It is just so big. Maui can't take it out. The only thing that really can is the Hercules from this set, because that has 7 strength. So this thing is just huge if you have an Ursula in play. So it's going to protect all your characters pretty well. You know, actually, no, I'm just going to give this one a D. Even though it does, like, there's just too many ways that I think shifting on to your characters can go wrong, especially since we don't have a good Prince Eric that is standalone currently that you would want to play with it. So, yeah, like, you can't play this for 6 and expect to win the game very often. There's just too many other impactful 6 costs. And I think that we're going to see in this set the curve of a lot of decks need to come down, because I think when you shift onto like a 3-cost with your shift for Prince Eric here, and we don't talk about Bruno, you're just going to feel so far behind. Like, they just bounced 2 turns worth of plays and made you discard a card. You're just going to get buried in tempo like that. And I just don't think we can do stuff like this. You have to have something that's really powerful, I think. So I'm just going to give this one a D.
Fair enough.
That was just a lot of me talking, saying that a lot of these cards that don't do anything when they come into play are just not going to be good.
Yep. I mean, you don't have to call yourself out, but it's okay.
I will. It's okay. All right, we have Stitch, Alien Dancer.
Nope, that's a vanilla.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
We're losing focus.
Right. Ursula, Eric's Bride. 4-cost and inkable. 2/4, quest for 2. As shift, discard a song. So the first of the new shift mechanic cards that we've seen.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. And as Vanessa's design, whenever this character quests, chosen opponent reveals their hand and discards a non-character card of your choice. What do you think?
Hear me out.
I'm hearing.
Well, I'll give my grade first. No. Yeah, hear me out first. Lemon Lime deck.
Mm-hmm.
You play Ursula Deceiver on turn 2. You look at their hand. They have a song. Great. Or you look at their hand and they don't have a song, but they have an action or a item or something. Then you have a couple songs to spare because in the Emerald deck, I mean...
You have sometimes just random sun chills that aren't good.
Random, yeah. Or like strike a good match or something, right? Discard one of those, shift her, make them discard. Or if they have both, you're making them discard 2 cards in one turn. I'm just saying. But regardless, C+.
Yeah, the new shift mechanic kind of scares me just because it's doing things for no ink cost. I think can get kind of dangerous as far as like pushing the power level of the game goes.
Yeah.
But I don't. This one's probably a B minus C plus kind of card. If it was inkable, I would probably be a little more scared of it, but it's not. So, we'll just give it a similar grade.
All right, and then to our last character card of this color, Ursula Vanessa. Inkable 2-drop, 1/4, quest for 1, singer 4. Ugh. C. I think we have Bianca and Sebastian in this color that are inkable singer 2s, and they didn't see much play. Like, sorry, singer like 2 drops is what I mean.
Yeah.
And didn't see much play. I mean, albeit they have different stats, but I think I'm making it as a C, as it might be a desired shift target.
Or maybe the shift Ursula is good, so you want to see this. So this one might have a little more upside, but I agree. It is a C at best. Yeah.
All right.
Next card we have is Bruno's Return, an uninkable 2-cost action. Return a character card from your discard to your hand, then remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. I gave this one a C. I kind of think that it's just a worse Hades from the first set, the 4-cost uninkable character that's a 3/2, mainly because you can just loop Hades back and forth. Once they kill a Hades, you play another Hades, get your Hades back, and then you just keep doing that. You don't really have that kind of long game play with Bruno's Return. It is only a 2-cost though, so it's a little easier to fit in your turn cycles sometimes, so I could see maybe 1 or 2 of these getting played, but that's probably the top end of it.
I gave it a C. I think its uninkability is what's making this a C for me. If not, maybe a D. I don't know. I think it would have potential if not for that, but it also being an action instead of like a song, it makes it almost not worth it. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't want to take up a slot for this at the end of the day.
Yeah, you don't really want to spend your 2 ink to not affect the board like that either. And like at least Hades on turn 4, if you don't have anything in your discard pile as a character, this is just nothing if you have nothing in your discard pile.
I agree. All right, next we have First Aid. It is a inkable 1-drop action where you remove up to 1 damage from each of your characters. As cute as this art is with Pluto's little paw getting healed, it's a D for me. Its effect is widespread to your whole board, but 1 damage removal isn't impactful enough for me to play this card. Now, maybe if you are using it with, like you said, the Ruby cards that come in with damage, this being cheap, inkable, I don't know. But most of those come in with like 2 damage, so it doesn't even matter anyway, I think.
Yeah, this just isn't how you want to remove damage from your characters. I don't think it's going to be impactful enough unless we have more things that synergize with healing your characters as far as like drawing cards goes. We need to draw a card. Like, we need a cheap character that lets you draw a card every time you heal one of your characters, and that might make this seem playable. As it is, it's just pretty anemic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, D. Next one, we have a kind of exciting one. Look at this family. It's a 7-cost inkable song with Sing Together 7. So I'll just read this text here for those of you who aren't sure what Sing Together is. Any number of your and your teammates' characters, so that implies teams, which is pretty interesting, with total cost 7 or more may exert to sing this song for free. And you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, you may reveal up to 2 character cards, put them into your hand, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So With Ariel, the singer 7 that we saw earlier, this is pretty interesting. Like, just exerting one character to look at the top 5 and like pick the best 2 characters seems kind of strong. This is one that I think we'll see play because it's, for one, inkable, and 7 isn't like super outlandish, whereas like the 9 cost uninkable ones I think will struggle to see play.
Yeah. Wait, did you say your grade?
I didn't say my grade because I was still pondering it. I'm just gonna give it a B.
Okay, cool. I gave it a B too. I think the chances of it hitting are high enough, and the fact that it's inkable song makes it that much easier to see play. I think, like you said, the high cost doesn't really scare me because we do have that Ariel that's a singer 7, but because we also have the sing together ability, even if you have like, I don't know, like the singer 5 Ariel and something
Like a SME
in
or
a
something.
SME or something, like
Easy.
that's easy peasy. So yeah, I think B for me.
Yeah, the only thing this really has competition with, I think, is A Whole New World. Like, if you're playing Steel, you'll probably just play A Whole New World because that's a little bit easier to do, and you draw a lot more cards. But if you're not playing Steel, then this is definitely a pretty good card advantage option for you.
I like it. All right, next we have Lost in the Woods, another song that is an inkable 4-drop, and all opposing characters get -2 until the start of your next turn. I gave this one a B. I don't know. I actually like this one too. Maybe not as much as Look at This Family, but I think due to its inkability and it's a fairly low cost, it's an AoE, area of effect. So it helps even penetrate characters with like ward that you would want to try to deal with and maybe like get their strength down or something like that. So kind of helps penetrate those that otherwise would be a little bit more annoying to deal with. I don't know. I kind of like it.
I think I'm just going to give it a D.
Oh.
Well, the thing is that we have the Shift Kita from the last set that gave -3 strength, and that card hasn't really seen a ton of play.
You're right.
And I think there's probably a pretty big delta between -2 and -3, so that makes this one a lot worse.
I will argue. I want to argue that actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Even though that Kita didn't see play, I think because this is an inkable and it's a song, if you're trying to also play cards within your deck that have some sort of synergy with singing, so like obviously with Ariel, like you're trying to hit a song, so this is just another one to throw in there. Or I'm already blanking on the card that we talked about earlier, where the harp, like if you play a song, or like cards that kind of synergize with you playing a song that turn, this is better than Kita for, because obviously it's you're just adding your chances of hitting a song.
Yeah. If you have some song stuff that makes you specifically want more songs, then yeah, this is better than Kita. I think in a vacuum, Kita's probably better, and she's a shiftable character, so you can even do it on turn 3. That being said, I could see maybe like one of these getting played in the song decks just as like a card to search for, so you can sing it, then your opponents can't challenge your characters that easily. So that's kind of interesting, but I still don't love it. It might be a C. Alright, next we have Sign the Scroll. It's a uninkable 3-cost action. Each opponent may choose and discard a card. For each opponent who doesn't, you gain 2 lore. What do you think, Dana?
I gave it a B.
Uh-huh.
I think although it's uninkable, it's obviously good in the multiplayer game, but I still don't think it's too bad for a 1v1 either.
Alright, so this is, I think, a bait, if you will. This is a trap card for people who haven't played TCGs that much. Because you look at this card and you're like, what can go wrong? They either discard a card or I gain 2 lore, right? The issue with that is that, for one, you don't want to pay 3 ink for either of those abilities. You don't want to pay 3 ink to gain 2 lore, nor would you want to pay 3 ink for them to just discard a card because, well, for one, we have Hypnotize, which allows you to draw a card, but we also have Sudden Chill, which is a song and costs 2. not only that, but your opponent gets to choose, and they are always going to choose the one that is best for them and worse for you. So if you are at 16 lore and you're like, I really need this 2 lore because this is what I drew off the top, they're just going to discard a card and then you don't get the lore. If they have 1 card in their hand and it's a whole new world, and you're like, I know what that is, I need them to discard the card, they're just gonna let you gain 2 lore and then a whole new world next turn and probably just bury it in card advantage. This is
this a bait just in all formats, or is it still considered a bait in like the multiplayer scenarios? Because I feel like it's for each. So I mean, yes, everybody could theoretically choose to discard a card, but you might have some people that will give you the lore.
if this is like a 4-player game and you have 3 opponents, then this is probably a decent card.
What would you grade it at then?
It'd probably be like a B or a C. It wouldn't be like
there
an
might
A.
be people out there who aren't looking for tournaments, but they want to play like multiplayer with their friends.
If you're playing like a 4-person game, I mean, the more people,
obviously it's better. The
more
it
people,
is.
the better. And like if you're playing a multiplayer game and one person discards a card and you gain 4 lore, that's not terrible. I think it's not. Like, you would probably need some discard synergies to want to put this in your deck as well. Like Prince John, but then your opponents are just going to make you gain the lore, and that might be what you want. If you just gain 6 lore for 3 ink, that's kind of good too. So in multiplayer formats, that does get a lot better. As far as Classic Constructed goes, it's a D.
Okay. All right, moving on. We have 4 more. 2 items, 2 locations, so let's get to them. Miracle Candle. Inkable 2-drop item, and it has Abuela's Gift. Banish this item. If you have 3 or more characters in play, you gain 2 lore and remove up to 2 damage from chosen location. What did you give this?
It's a D to me. The effect really isn't like super good. You're only like, it's conditional for 1, so you have to have like 3 characters in play, and then in order to get half of the ability, you have to also have a location in place. So there's just a lot that has to go right with it. And then just paying 2 ink to gain 2 lore like 3 turns down the road just does not seem like a worthwhile deal to me. It's a D for me.
So you remember me telling you before we started this episode that there were 2 cards they were my last ones to grade, and I just didn't care. So this was one of them.
Okay.
I gave it a B because I feel like I just went with my gut quickly, and I figure that because it's an item and you get to choose when its ability comes into effect, it's like I like being able to control the timing of something like that. It's obviously, if this was an action, I would say yeah, it's definitely a D, but I feel like because it's an item, I don't know, I kind of felt like it had a little bit more value than that. So yeah.
The one redeeming quality I think for this card is that like it does provide some reach. So if you have 3 characters in play and you have like 2 of these in your hand, and like you can quest and then you can play these, banish them, and then you can kind of just sneak 4 lore out of nowhere, and your opponent's like, what the heck, I did not see that coming. So that can be kind of interesting, but that just seems like kind of a niche scenario to me.
Yeah,
So.
I get it.
Alright, next we have Record Player, another 2-cost inkable item. As look at this, whenever you play a song, chosen character gets -2 strength until the start of your next turn, and Hit Parade, your character's named Stitch count as having +1 cost to sing songs. I'm going to give this one a D as well. It doesn't provide really much meaningful value. I kind of like the first half of it. The second half doesn't really matter to me. The first half's kind of interesting because if you play a Cinderella on turn 1 and then this on turn 2, you make it so their 1-cost character can't challenge into Cinderella, which is kind of interesting, and it makes their challenges kind of annoying in the future, but it also just does very little by itself. This is just a terrible top deck, and I just don't love cards that aren't good top decks or need a lot of support to make them good. So C.
So this was my second one I didn't care about. and I gave it a B. I am like you. I could care less about the second ability, but I do like that first one, and I think it's key that it's until the start of your next turn. There are a lot of abilities that we have seen in cards where it's just your turn, and it's just kind of meh to me. So I like the ones that last longer, but I see all the reasons why it's a D to you, and we'll just go with that. All right, so next we have our first of two locations. We have Atlantica, Concert Hall, Inkable 1-drop, 6 willpower. I can't figure out how I want to like introduce cards that are locations now. 6 willpower and a move cost of 2. And then it has Underwater Acoustics. Characters count as having +2 cost to sing songs while here. I gave this one originally a C, but I kind of like it. You know, I'm going to keep it as a C. At first, I was going to say I kind of like it as a B, but the one thing that's holding me back is the move cost of 2. If it was move cost 1, then B or A to me, but...
Yeah, I'm going to give this one a D, I think. The reason being is that in order for its ability to come into effect, you have to spend 3 ink in order to do that, and you might as well just play like another character to the board to help you sing those songs, in my opinion.
Because it doesn't even gain lore like some locations do. Like, just, if it did that, I feel like...
Yeah, if it did gain 1 lore, I think this card might actually be pretty good, because it's a threat that your opponents would have to deal with, but it's giving you that the singer advantage. But I think just playing a character out would just be better 99% of the time. And the one thing that locations like the Queen's Castle or McDuck Manor are... The reason why those are good is because they do gain you the lore. So even if your opponent gets rid of your board, you still have this threat in play that's doing something. But with Atlantica, you don't have that. So you might as well just... And this is useless without characters anyway. So you might as well just play a character to the board, and it would probably just be better 99% of the time.
Fair enough.
All right, next one we have is The Underworld. River Styx is a 2-cost inkable location with 6 willpower and a 2 move cost. It does have 1 lore, and it has Save a Soul. Whenever a character quests while here, you may pay 3 to return a character card from your discard to your hand. This is my first time seeing this card, and I think I like it. I think I do like this one. I think I'm going to give it a B. I think you can play 1 or 2 of these. I don't know if you can play 4, just because it just has a bad return when you have multiples of these in play. Like, you're not going to use 2 of these at one time. But having one of these against like a control deck where they just want to keep, be preparing.
I get what you're saying.
Where they just want to like keep swordsing or being prepared your characters, having 1 or 2 of these in your deck so you can draw it and then just start gaining some card advantage back, and then you get the lore as well. For it's kind of expensive to use every turn, but sometimes you just have a lot of ink and not a lot to do with it. So I kind of like this one as like a C+.
See, you say sometimes you have a lot of ink and don't know what to do with it as somebody that plays a ramp deck. But as someone that doesn't, I gave this one a D. I think the move costs being expensive and having to pay 3 to just return it to your hand. If this was like pay 3 to get it from your discard and play it to the board, of course this card would be insanely good, but I just feel like it's too slow and too expensive to do a whole lot of nothing except just putting it back into your hand. I don't know, and then you would you might not even have enough ink to play it that turn. You would have to wait till the next turn anyway. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
I think this card will be good is just like a low to the ground kind of really aggressive deck where you're playing Lilo Making a Wish and maybe like Curse Merfolk, just because you have these really cheap, high questing characters that you can get back. So even if you are spending a decent amount of ink to return those characters, you can still play those characters this turn. This card's not going to be good at returning Maleficent Monstrous Dragons just because that's way too slow. But I do think in an aggressive deck where the lore is really important and being able to play a 1 or 2 cost character like Flynn Rider or Curse Merfolk, that could be decent. But I can also see it just being way too expensive and not good at all. So,
Yeah. Well, I don't know what else to say to that. We've talked enough, so I'm kind of ready to bounce at this point. But no, in all seriousness, that actually wraps up our Amber set review for Ursula's Return.
1 down, 5 to go.
1 down, 5 to go. We hope you guys found some value in something we said today. Hopefully we didn't just say a bunch of stuff that you completely disagree with, but provided some value. I don't know.
We definitely said a bunch of stuff.
We did say a bunch of stuff. Hopefully it's something that is worth listening to. But yeah, I guess with that being said, keep an eye out for our next one, which we are going to be just going in order, meaning Amethyst is next. So with that being said, we hope you guys have a great set 4 release weekend, and we can't wait to talk to you guys next time.
Have a wonderful weekend, guys.